Let's start with the Supreme Court decisions this week, and then head into talking about what happened in the Texas state legislature. Because, and I want to start I think these are both monumental decisions. I think the Voting Rights Act, the gutting of the Voting Rights Act, and the death of the Defense of Marriage Act, and they're both monumental, and they obviously sort of head in different directions. One is incredibly regressive, and one is well overdue in many respects. Go ahead.
Well, the important first thing to remember here is, a lot of people say the Supreme Court, was great on gay rights, and the Supreme Court was terrible on voting rights. What we need to remember is that 8 people were on the same side of both of those things. So really nothing changed except for one guy's vote.
Right.
That 4 people were terrific. And were fantastic and have been, I would mostly say the 4 Supreme Court justices on the left side of center have been very good on most things. And they were once again on these 2 things. And the 4 regressive nuts, were pretty much exactly where you would expect them to be. And again, it proved why it's so important that we replace, Kennedy and Scalia are getting up into their late 70s, and why we replace them with people who are progressive, because you can't count on Kennedy on gay rights and on abortion rights and other things. He's with you here and there, but he's been terrible on a variety of other things like voting rights, as he was. And then there's Scalia, and we can talk about his dissent and laugh at it a little bit overly, and the fact that he freaked out essentially the day after he determined what Congress couldn't do something anymore.
You were saying about Scalia's dissent, where he, in one case, spoke about how we can't really trust the legislature's work on the Voting Rights Act. On the other, he said we can trust them when it comes to discriminating against gay people, essentially.
Right, and he said it. Can you hear me okay from here?
Yep.
Great. He said it in such strong language that it was sort of laughable. His language was such that he said, that we're acting like we are the supreme divine body, giving our guidance over the legislature. Language like that when it came to the DOMA case. And of course, voting rights, as broken down, I think it was Paul Campos over at Salon. The most absurd argument. Think about this argument in your life in general. The argument that the Supreme Court made, which was essentially, it's working too well, so let's stop it.
Right.
So for anybody who's on a diet and you've lost weight, start eating garbage again. It's worked too well. Why are you still doing it?
Right. You no longer need it. You no longer need to eat well. You've lost the weight.
Right. Let's go further than that. If you had heart disease and you're eating well and you've improved, you should go back to what you were doing before.
Right.
If you found yourself before driving in too much of a dangerous fashion because you were driving with your eyes closed and crashing into things, but when you started keeping your eyes open and then you didn't hit things anymore, you should go back to closing your eyes while you drive.
And even
one could come up with 1,000 metaphors for how utterly stupid the reasoning was.
And even with even as wrong as the construction of the metaphor was, the fact is that they did not really look at the data. This is what's really stunning, is that in the Shelby case, they didn't even really look at the actual data in the actual case. They certainly did not do as a comprehensive of a fact-finding mission as the Senate and the House did back when they reauthorized the Voting Rights Act in the mid-2000s. And so this was really this was an incredibly naked decision in terms of why they were going about this. And it, within days of that ruling, we see some of the worst of those laws, which were struck down by the DOJ and then the courts in through a Section 5 process. They're being reinstated by those states. And The real question is, in some quarters, it's interesting the way that people are reacting to this in some quarters, in that, well, the backlash is going to be so strong that this may, in fact, doom the Republicans to becoming even more isolated and more of a sort of a geographic and narrow psychographic constituency. Because, when you combine this with immigration, which now looks like it's going to fail in the House by hook or crook, the
crook when it comes to the Republican Party.
Indeed, the game plan seems to be, let's double down on racial polarization and see how far this is going to take us. I mean,
yeah, they can't help themselves. I mean, that's what's clear. Is look, it's there are people that know that they have to pander to this crowd. I mean, let me give you an example of someone who I used to have some respect for, who I now hold in utter disdain, which is the supposed, reasonable Senator Rob Portman from my state here of Ohio, who's a reasonable establishment Republican. He voted against immigration reform. He voted against background checks. He came out for gay marriage when he realized his son was gay. He won't do anything to fight for it, but of course he did that. So apparently, too bad his son didn't immigrate over from Mexico. And
right.
Maybe he would be for it, because he realized that he doesn't. I don't believe he believes in most of the things he's been voting for a second. But he realized he's already pissed off the crazy Tea Party faction with what he's done on gay marriage. So he's going to go to the far right on everything else to try to appease them when he runs for re-election. He's an example of one type of person. But this other faction of the party, the ones that talk about masturbating fetuses and women getting rape kits because it cleans them out and all these other things, they just are regressive, stupid people. There's just no other way to put it. They're not educated. They are dumb. They're dumb, and they're in the last century. They don't represent what science or medical science or combined knowledge or where we're going as a people. And so this is the stuff that they believe, and there's legislative districts throughout the country where they've been able to make sure that they've gotten enough of them elected into power. And again, with the comments as well as the voting, the people that realize this are way outnumbered by the people that are just too dumb and too bigoted to care. So if you look at this week, if you look at them on their reaction to gay marriage, if you look at them on their reaction to immigration, and you look at them, as you said, their reaction to voting rights and their reaction again to what Wendy Davis did in Texas, all of the groups we've been talking about, from women overall, but specifically single women, married women at this point, a swing group, and others. If you look at Hispanic Americans, Asian Americans, African Americans, who are just growing in enormous numbers from a re-migration back to the South by African Americans, by certain states like Georgia and Texas that will end up being swing states within the next 8 years or so, perhaps sooner. When you look at Hispanics who have turned already states like New Mexico and Colorado into Democratic states, at least in the case of Colorado and Florida, swing states. In New Mexico, what that was once a swing state is now a firmly Democratic state. Arizona, we're looking at similar demographics. Nevada is a lean Democratic state now. They obviously can't help themselves. And they managed in this week to remind all these groups that the Democrats and progressives particularly don't do a good job of publicizing all this and reminding every one of these groups who these people are that hate them and loathe them. Then that's their failure. I mean, they shouldn't have to, and they won't have to in many cases. But I think your point is right, Sam. I think there will be a backlash to this if this is handled correctly, and there should be, because there's clearly an assault on very specific groups of people.
Yeah, it's going to be, Portman's an interesting case too, because one has to think that in Portman's mind, the gutting of Section 4 is it could very well help him in the short term when it comes to elections in Ohio. This is one of those states where the racial polarization that's involved, and there's been a long history of suppressing African-American votes in Ohio, again, by hook.
Well, they've worked harder here because, it's a swing state, much like some of the other ones we discussed before, Pennsylvania. And so here, if you can suppress that vote, it doesn't matter as much, let's say, in Alabama or the 3 African Americans in Utah. But here, if you can pull that off, so you're right. It may help Portman in the short term. It's going to kill his party in the long term.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, and hope springs eternal. We're seeing the sort of in some respects the last gasp. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if there is some fix to, and just to reiterate to folks, Section 5 is the section of the Voting Rights Act that speaks about the need for pre-clearance in about 12 or 15 states, and then a bunch of counties around the country that must pre-clear their changes to voting rules based upon, and those states and counties are enumerated by a formula that is laid out in Section 4. They invalidated that formula, which essentially hollows out Section 5, because as of now,
right,
no one is subject to Section 5, or I should say...
Well, there's no formula, and they said they threw it back to Congress. They come up with a new formula, and of course, all of you know that right away people like Steve Stockman and Louis Gohmert and Michelle Bachmann and Steve King and others will be working hard to enact a new formula so they can move forward with this.
And
I mean, the Congress is not going to do anything on it, obviously, and they know that. I mean, Scalia again improved. What gets me angry is when people have given this guy some sort of, because he likes to use $2 words in his dissent, his writing and the rest, that he's not just the same sort of spoiled, angry child as he showed in that DOMA dissent that the rest of these Tea Party guys are. He just got there a little sooner than the Tea Party erupted in this country. But he is just an aggrieved, angry white male who will find any justification. He's a politician in a robe, which, he's proven again and again and again, from Bush v. Gore, equal protection for George Bush, but I guess not now for anybody else, to the decision on Citizens United, gutting 100 years of campaign finance law, decision on guns, gutting 80 years of law on firearms in this country, now a decision on voting rights, gutting 50 to 60 years of law on that. If that's not an activist juror, judge, I don't know what is.
Right.
So, they're politicians, and they're doing what they think they can get away with politically.
And
if anything, Sam, I'll just say quickly, what if anything should have been done with what this country's gone through in recent years with all the voter suppression, and I'd love to hear what someone like Ari Berman would say on this, is if the Supreme Court thought that they were biased against these 15 counties, well, then maybe every county should have to get pre-clearance.
That's exactly, actually.
I'd be just fine with that.